Finally, the Outlaw Posse is in effect once again. We're going live on the Outlaw of College Football channel tonight. We haven't done a live in about a week. I'm probably going to start scaling back on these. I might actually not do many lives from today until the kickoff of the football season because they don't seem as beneficial sometimes. But I'm still going to podcast regularly, or try to anyway. If y'all got any suggestions on topics, anything going forward as far as regarding these live streams, just drop in the comment section or just hit me up on Twitter at OCF Productions, as well as on I can be reached on Facebook under Jesse Paul Clark, spelled Jesse. We got the I. We also have a little multi-chat on Facebook that some of us are a part of. And if you want me to add you to that multi-chat where everybody can get to know each other a little better, just let me know that too. Already got a few people up in the house already. Do a little roll call real quick of the badges and whatnot. Big Cojones Kelly's in the house. Got his badge, Thunder OU Sooner, Turd Ferguson. Great name, by the way. Love that name, Turd. John Ritchie's in the house, as always. Justin Goss is in the house. Zach Hamner's in the house. They all got their badges, and if you want your badge like them, it's just $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. This little join button, next subscribe button, just hit that, and you'll be deputized. You'll get your badge, be the random, maybe one of the random Four Horsemen shout-outs, as well as possibly the comment of the day on the actual podcast. Now, tonight we're going to talk about the fact that it seems like, to me, there's been a lot of disrespect to the SEC since Michigan won the national championship. And that's what I don't get about a lot of the national pundits out there and just national college football fans in general. The SEC doesn't win it 1 year and, the dynasty's dead. It's over for the SEC, yada, yada, yada. And then they come back and start winning titles yet again. It's going to happen. From time to time, the SEC is not going to win the national championship in college football. You just can't win it every single year. But as much as they have won it, for anybody to disrespect the SEC and say they're done, or to say that they're weaker or they're getting weaker, it's just wishful thinking, in my opinion. But there's one team in particular in the SEC. They're actually one of the newest members. That's Oklahoma. They seem like they've been catching a lot of disrespect. I saw the win totals. It was at 1.6.5. Now it's 7.5. And I'm like, damn. Didn't Oklahoma just win 10 games this year? So I'm like, why such a low win total? Now, I can understand not giving them 10 wins or 11 wins like they've done this past season. But to start out at 6.5? Really? I mean, that's got them down there with the likes of maybe, I don't know, Mississippi State, Arkansas, South Carolina. And not to trying to kiss Oklahoma's ass or anything, but when you think of Oklahoma, yes, they went 6-7 a couple of years, but for the most part, that's like an aberration, right? So how do they come up with 7.5? I don't know. You guys and gals tell me. I'm gonna bring up something real quick for y'all and share it with y'all. Something I found on here. It's the odds, I think it is. They come out with the college football odds, as you can see right here. There it is. And it says Georgia they got Georgia at 10.5. Nobody got higher than 10.5. Ohio State with 10.5 wins. The Oregon Ducks 10.5. Longhorns 10.5. I'm doing this trying to take a shot at the Longhorns or anything. So I know that's the Oklahoma's chief rival and everything. So they're going to think that I'm sort of buttering up to Oklahoma here. But Texas, isn't Texas losing a lot on their offensive line and their defense and whatnot? I might have to look that up because I was under the impression that they lost a lot of people to either graduation or they left for another team, or, of course, they did refurbish themselves with a lot of Alabama players. So that could be it. They got Alabama at 9.5. The Clemson Tigers at 9.5. Florida State at 9.5. Here's a real shocker for me. Kansas State, 9.5. LSU, 9.5. The Hurricanes, 9.5 for the Hurricanes? Really? Michigan Wolverines, 9.5. That's a little surprising, but hey, they are the defending national champions. Missouri Tigers, 9.5. Ole Miss, 9.5. Penn State, also 9.5. Utah, 9.5. And then they have other notables right here. And here's, as you can see down here, they got Oklahoma at 7.5. In the mix with teams like Maryland, Nebraska, Okie Pokey, Chokey State, SMU, TCU, Virginia Tech, USC at 7.5. The Skittle Shitters are right there. So I'm just struggling to figure out how they come up with such a low win total. Dakota Green's in the house. He has now been a member for 8 months. I appreciate the hell out of that, Dakota Green. Let everyone sleep on us. I took $500 on the 6.5. That's probably why it's jumped up to 7.5. These people are here to make money, right? So they know that people are going to start betting over more than likely. It would not surprise me if that over ended up about 8.5 or 9 before the season ever starts. Maybe even 9.5. What do you guys and gals think? Got a donation to the channel already. We got 20 people up in here already. So if you want to get your comment pushed to the top and get me to respond to it and answer your question above all the others, there's a little money dollar sign at the bottom with a circle around it or a square around it. Click on that, then write your comment out, and then hit the click button a second time. Don't hit that click button twice or you'll send a blank. We have a $10 donation from Alpha Dragon Gaming, FTW, who also has his badge. He's in the posse. He says, I figured I would give you $10 in honor of Luis. And if y'all don't know who Luis is, he is a Skittle Shitter that was the first Skittle Shitter ever to get in the multi-chat on Facebook and the private chat that's for the VIPs up in here, the people that really, 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 really like the show, and add me under Jesse Paul Clark on Facebook, as I told y'all before. I think Luis's name on YouTube is Padilla Luis, something or another. Anyway, he basically lost his bowels this past week, and he's made some threats to me physically and whatnot, because it all started because I said USC was a bunch of puddings. And it snowballed from there, and he started taking personal shots and whatnot. And he went on to tell us his measurements. He's 6 foot nothing, 228 pounds of Mexican fright machine, as he put it. He said he was going to basically whoop my ass because I called him puddings. So here's a word of advice to y'all out there. If you're going to get insulted by a few little nicknames that they give your team and whatnot, you might want to go ahead and unsubscribe to the channel, because I'm not going to stop doing that shit. Even if we did meet in person and Luis knocked about 5 teeth out of my mouth, I'd probably still go around calling them puddings, because I'm just hard-headed like that. And it's called freedom of speech, man. If you can't deal with it, then oh well. I don't know what to tell you. Zach Hemmer said he takes a 5'6" shaft. That's a big one. That's almost taller than me. And from what Luis said, he said basically that, here's what really stirred it up. He said that I don't want anybody telling me anything about football that's 5'6". First of all, I'm not 5'6". I'm not the tallest guy in the world, but I'm not 5'6". And even if I were 5'6", I just don't think that Skittle Shitter could do anything with me. Like I told him, I could be 4'11", and I'd still be better looking than him, stronger than him, smarter than him. And, if I saw Luis at a bar, like I told him before, I'd drink his beer, dance with his woman, and then slap his mouth. And that's called ass whooped, coochie took. There's y'all smack talk lesson for the day. Smack 101. So what do y'all think about these win totals right here that I brought up? You think anybody's overrated? Do you think they maybe give too many wins to Kansas State or Missouri? I know Missouri did do good this year, but just Missouri's never really won back-to-back 9 or 10 game seasons in a long time, I don't think. They may have back when they went to the SEC title game back-to-back. But that was just a few that, I don't know, that sort of struck me as odd. Who is it? Not Penn State, but where's it at? Oh, Miami, the Hurricanes. I can't believe they got the Miami Hurricanes at 9.5. Now, if you had Miami down at 7.5 like Oklahoma, I could understand it. But 9.5 for the Hurricanes? Now, didn't Miami go like 6-6 or 5-7 or some shit? Did Miami even go to a bowl game? I can't remember. Yeah, I think they did. They played Rutgers, didn't they? I think they ended up like 7-6 or 8-5 or some shit. Big Cojones Kelly with a $2 donation says, print the Don't Be a Pudding Pooper t-shirt. That's a tongue twister, man. Just don't be a pudding. And you know why I come up with that word? And because I didn't want to say the other word that's more descriptive of the vagina area of a woman. So I come up with that because I didn't want to be vulgar. You know, a lot of women folk don't like that word. So I come up with the word pudding. Pudding pop. Alpha Dragon Gaming has been a member for 6 months. He used his membership badge to make a comment here. He called him a pudding pop. Y'all remember the pudding pops? Oh, Bill Cosby used to. He used to do commercials for them. JELLO. He had a pudding pop, right? Oh, Bill Cosby, man. He used to talk smack about Eddie Murphy all the time, didn't he? About how vulgar Eddie Murphy was. And then we find out Bill is roofing people, right? I wonder if he roofed Claire Huxtable on that set of Cosby Show. Or poor little Rudy. Oh, Rudy, she grew up to be hot now, by the way. Dakota Green with a $2 donation to the channel says, I think OU has a big possibility to win 9 or more games. They could. Let's pull up OU's schedule real quick because they were the ones that really disrespected us. But like I said, it ain't just OU that's being disrespected here. They've sort of grown a little bit of a bacooth by themselves. Their sack's getting a little bit bigger since they won that national championship with Michigan. So now they give hope to everybody else. And I actually think it was a good thing. Don't kill me. I actually think it was a good thing that the SEC finally didn't win the national title because it keeps the other fan bases interested and it's greater for the national scope of things for college football to make it a more national sport and to keep national interest. If the SEC wins it every year, normally, people are going to start tuning out, in my opinion, especially geographically speaking. Let's go ahead and pull up some schedules here for y'all so y'all can give me y'all's take. Stop the screen on that. Share screen. Share screen. Here we go. There it is. This is Oklahoma's football schedule for 2024. It started off with Temple and Norman. That should be a win. All-time series is tied 1-1, as you can see. It says here. It says last game, OU won 9-6 in Norman and lost 14-7 in 1942 in Philadelphia. So they haven't played Temple since 1942. Nice little history tidbit right there. I love history. Love history nuggets. September 7th, they play Houston, also in Norman. OU leads this series 3-1. I would have thought y'all would have played these guys more. Last time y'all played them was 2019. All right, so that should be a win too, right? That's 2 wins. Tulane and Norman. Let me pop back in here real quick and check y'all out and make sure y'all hadn't made a donation or something. Actually, there is a donation down here. We'll get back to the schedule in a second. Alpha Dragon Gaming just gifted 5 college football memberships. So if y'all see 5 Outlaw of College Football memberships on your channel, it's because of Alpha Dragon Gaming FTW. And if you want to keep that after the month is up, like I said, all you got to do is resubscribe for $2.99 a month. And if you don't mind, jump out of the chat right now and smash that like button. And if you hadn't subscribed to the channel already, hit the subscribe button. That's free. People get memberships and subscriptions mixed up and they're afraid to hit the subscribe button. You'd be surprised at how many people told me that. But yeah, hit the like button, jump back in here, and it'll push that algorithm to get more people up here in the party. Now let's go back to the schedule here. Y'all play Tulane in Norman. Now, you know, Tulane has been decent here as of late, but I think that Tulane's probably going to start digressing a little bit. That game's also in Norman, and OU leads the series 2-0. Then they play Tennessee in Norman. While Tennessee has been better here recently, it looks like they're sliding a little bit again. So I don't see why Tennessee would not win this game, especially since it's in Norman. That's 4-0, right? 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. So they're almost already more than halfway to the 7.5 total. Then they go to Auburn. Auburn is a boogaboo now. Auburn can be 3-9, and you play them in Auburn, unless you're who's that team that beat them? Unless you're New Mexico State. New Mexico State went down there and won by double digits, but nobody else can, right? That's college football for you. All-time series, OU leads it 2-0. Both times they have met, it says here, in the Sugar Bowl in 1971 and in the 2016 season. That's at Auburn. So that could be a loss, theoretically. Then y'all have an open date. Then y'all play Texas in Dallas. I'm sure they're counting that as a loss too. So they're probably thinking y'all going to be 4-2 after 6 games. Then y'all play South Carolina in Norman. I think that should be a win. That puts y'all at least 5-2, if not 6-1. Because I think y'all could probably beat Auburn. Then he goes to at Ole Miss, which is a booger, going to Oxford sometimes. So I could see them maybe trying to pin a loss on you there. So they're probably thinking 5-3 right now. Whereas I'm thinking more along the lines of 6-2. Play Maine. That's a gimme. That's 6-3 at Missouri. That could be a loss, in their opinion. And you end up with Alabama and LSU. Those they are thinking is probably going to be back-to-back losses. And that's why they're saying that y'all are going to go 7-5 or 6-6. They probably think y'all are going to lose these last 3 games. Now, I don't know how good Missouri is going to be next year. Missouri is also one of those teams that will win 10, 11 games one year, and the next year they'll win 5. So what do y'all think about that? Of that schedule, that's the ones I see them. They thinking y'all going to lose. So, I mean, there's some validity in what they're trying to say, but there's some teams that are sort of sliding and some teams that are never consistent that they're trying to bank on. Missouri is a very inconsistent program. Auburn's very inconsistent. Tennessee's been inconsistent. So those are 3 games right there that could go either way, in my opinion. What do y'all think? Sooners Legends podcast is in the house. He has his badge. What's happening, Outlaw? What's going on, brother? I'll have to get you back on here again sometimes. Of course, I might not be doing live streams much longer. It says I'm more inclined to do better on the podcasting. Mary Caroline's in the house. Sooners Legends podcast says that OU will be 9-3 next season, maybe a little better. Well, from what they're saying, Sooners Legends podcast, y'all are going to go at best 8-5, 8-4 in the regular season. But they're saying 7.5, so they're banking on 7-5 or 7-4, whatever it is. I think it's 12 regular season games. Vegas started out 6.5 now. And from this schedule right here, there is 6 teams on there that could probably beat Oklahoma. But they're give or take. So if it's a coin toss and the game's in Norman, they probably should get one of those. So I'm banking that Oklahoma's going to at least win 8 games. So even at 7.5, I would still bet the money on Oklahoma to cover. What do you guys and gals think? Also, little conference expansion talk here. This Florida State keeps percolating up as well as Notre Dame. And it seems like Notre Dame's popping back up again because their athletic director, Jim Swarbrick, who's been around for quite some time, I'm not sure how long. I think he's been the athletic director of Notre Dame a good 10, 15 years, hasn't he? He's retiring in March. Coincidentally, Notre Dame just signed off on a playoff that they're okay with the top 4 seeds going to conference champions, which means even if Notre Dame was number 1 or number 2 or number 3 or number 4 in the polls, they would not get a bye, and they would have to play a first-round game, possibly even on the road. Well, they're in the top 4, they wouldn't. But they need to make those first 2 rounds on campus because that's sort of unfair to the good teams. Yeah, they're getting a bye, but they're getting screwed out of a home game. If you only have first-round games on campus, you're rewarding the teams that barely made it in with a campus game. That's bullshit. Then when they get it down to 8 teams, the second round also needs to be on campus, and then you take the final 4 teams, and then you have neutral site games like you do right now. All right, well, that'd mess up the New Year's Six, and 2 of the New Year's Six bowls get screwed. Well, I don't care. The NCAA don't have any power anymore. The Tennessee and Virginia thing in the courts has basically told the NCAA they are going away. That court case, it probably pretty much put the death penalty on the NCAA. They're going to feel that SMU bang really soon. That's called karma, bitches. In my opinion, the NCAA is about to go away. So the New Year's Six bowls, they can squabble over who's going to get the 4 or the 2. Plus, if it's 4 teams, that's 2 games, plus national championship games. That's 3 games that these bowls could decide who would get what. And the other ones would just have to give bowl bids to teams that didn't make the playoff. But I'm tired of acquiescing and kissing ass to the bowls and trying to, you can't do away with bowls, it's tradition, yada, yada, yada. Well, hell, they've already really been done away with. They're just there in name. And they always play the national championship game in a city that's not even associated with the bowl game usually. Sometimes, like they did in Houston. So you don't buy what the pundits say, and you never have, says Sooners legend. All right. The expansion playoff is so weird, says John Ritchie. How so, brother? Tell me. Do elaborate. Sooner Ross says at worst, OU will be 8-4. That's what I'm thinking, Sooner Ross. Now that I looked at y'all's schedule, I could see their reasoning behind it. But they're basically saying that every tough game or every coin toss game for Oklahoma is a loss. And they just don't usually happen like that. So I'm banking that Oklahoma's probably going to win at least 3 of those 6 toss-up games that they're saying. And Oklahoma's going to, in my opinion, finish either 8-4 or 9-3. Get a few lucky breaks, be 10-2 again, in my opinion. Let's pull up Alabama's schedule real quick. Or actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I might share screen. Here we go. See what we got here. This is the article they come up with examining it. This is the wrong article, I think. But basically, it's saying that the reason why they've done that, the reason why they've done that, in this article from Sooner Scoop, they're saying that a lot of the national pundits and Vegas odds makers are thinking that y'all got a new quarterback too. They've put a lot of emphasis on that. I heard them talking about the fact that Jackson Arnold, while he does have a bigger upside than Dylan Gabriel, that he really hasn't proven it yet. And the 6 turnovers in that bowl game may have hurt the perception of Oklahoma going forward with the Las Vegas odds makers. Now, Alabama, they got 9.5 on that list. If any of the Alabama fans here want to know that. Fred Bagley says, in my humble opinion, it's all going to change again when they bust off a super conference in its own governing body. I agree with that. I think it'll probably end up going to just two conferences. And the Big Ten and the SEC more than likely will pick off or cherry pick some more teams from the Big 12 and the ACC. They're probably going to more than likely concentrate on the ACC. I don't know if they're going to take any more teams from the Big 12. What do y'all think? Y'all think they're going to take some more teams from the Big 12, or you think they're just going to cherry pick the ACC? Because as far as the Big 12 goes, if any teams are going to leave the Big 12 and go to one of the Big 2, they might let Kansas in because of their basketball prowess and the fact that they're blue blood in basketball, and it would be a good ad as far as basketball goes for either conference. So I can see Kansas, not just, I know they suck in football most of the time, although they've been decent the last couple of years. They'll probably end up sliding back down and being Kansas-like once again. Maybe Oklahoma State, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, Oklahoma State said and done some shit that might have burnt the bridge for them. In the SEC and as far as the ACC goes, they said that ESPN sort of confronted Florida State with the fact that, hey, we own the rights to ACC games, and if you're going to leave the ACC, that's fine, but you're going to go where we tell you to because we own the rights to your television. That's what I've been hearing. So if Florida State does get out of the ACC, it's more likely, even though they might want to go to the Big Ten, so they'll have a different label than Florida and Miami, they're probably going to be forced to join the SEC from what the ESPN people are trying to say. John Ritchie says it's more than the committee than the playoff. That's true. If history repeats itself, Oklahoma always wins one they aren't supposed to and loses one we aren't supposed to. Well, let's hope that don't happen, because they're basically saying that there's 6 toss-up games on this schedule. So if you win one that you're not supposed to and lose one you're not supposed to, that still leaves 4 games in there somewhere, from what they're saying, Sooner Legends podcast. And I don't know, man. I think Oklahoma, of those 6 toss-up games, is going to win 3 or 4 of them. And I think Oklahoma will indeed end up either 8-4 or 9-3 their first year in. I hope it's better for y'all, but that's just realistically what I'm seeing. I'm going to be rooting for them. I'm going to be rooting for Oklahoma, but if they won 9 games next year, if I was y'all, I'd be really, really happy, especially first year in the SEC. Texas, on the other hand, I said I'm not really privy to how many players they lost. I know they added a bunch of Alabama players, but I don't know if Texas can cover their 10.5, to be honest with you. I just don't know. I mean, but Texas does have a pretty decent schedule. We looked at their schedule before. They got a lot of games in Austin against the tougher opponents, and their road games aren't near as daunting as Oklahoma or Alabama's or LSU's. So that's probably what they're taking into account there. I can bring up Texas' schedule for y'all if you want me to. Let me look it up for you real quick. All right. There we go. I'm going to share that with y'all real quick. Texas Longhorns 2024 schedule coming at you. Make sure y'all got that on the screen like I do. Yep, there it is. 2024 Texas football schedule. Start out with Colorado State. That's a win. They have to go to Michigan. Michigan lost a lot, not just in players, but coaches as well. It is at Michigan, so that may be in Michigan's favor a little bit. I could see them losing that game. They put them at 1-1. UTSA 2-1. ULM 3-1. Mississippi State 4-1. That's in Austin. Then they play Oklahoma. That's a toss-up game. They're saying that they're going to win that game, so that make them 5-1 because it's a neutral site game. They play Georgia in Austin, so that could be a good advantage for them. Although Alabama went down there and won at Texas. They play Vanderbilt on the road, so it was one of our SEC road games. They have to play Vanderbilt, which is never really a road game. Nashville people don't come out and support Vanderbilt. Play Florida in Austin, so they get Florida and Georgia in Austin, and Oklahoma's neutral site, so they still got all three tough games in the state of Texas. Then they go on the road to Arkansas. That could be their tricky one. Arkansas has been a boogaboo for Texas for over 70 or 80 years. Even when they was in the Southwest Conference, Arkansas would up and bite their ass. And here recently when they played Texas, they beat them by a couple of scores, I think. Then they play Kentucky, also in Austin. And, you know, Kentucky's been pretty much upstart here lately, so that's another tough SEC game that gets played in Austin. Then they have to go to College Station. That might be tricky for them. So they could have a couple of losses on the schedule, but that would put them at 10-2. So they'd be right there. So they may not cover. Texas may not cover their 10.5 either, in my opinion. What do y'all think? You think Texas covers it? Got another donation, the old 56 timer. He's also one of our VIP members. Old 56 timer says, I think 9-3 would be about right. Defense, I think, will be pretty good, but they need to get the O-line figured out quickly. Boomer and Roll Tide. Appreciate that, old 56 timer. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I was just trying to find out where the disrespect was coming from because they started out at 6.5. But I look at y'all's schedule, and you do have a pretty tough schedule. So I could see y'all losing 3 or 4 games. But it's just hard for me to imagine y'all going to lose 5 or 6 games, man. I think they're putting way too much emphasis and disrespect on the fact that y'all are playing in a bowl game against Arizona and your starting quarterback didn't even show up. I don't know why Dylan Gabriel didn't come and at least play the bowl game before he left. I know a lot of people at Oklahoma still hold Dylan Gabriel in high regard because he helped y'all out in a tough situation. But Dylan should have stayed for the bowl game. Them 6 turnovers were a bad look for Jackson Arnold. I think maybe, what was it? Was he responsible for 3 or 4 of those? How many turnovers was Jackson Arnold responsible for in that game against Arizona? I can't remember. I'll bring that article up for y'all real quick since we got mostly Oklahoma fans in here. I want to just start doing Oklahoma content from now on. Y'all very supportive of people. I can tell you that. I'll give y'all that. Y'all a very supportive fan base. So we got here. Y'all see that? Examining why Oklahoma was put at 7.5, it says the lines in Vegas regarding next season college football have plenty and still factor in. However, there's one win total in the Southeastern Conference that has caught several eyes, including on 3's Andy Staples, since he can't understand why it's so low. So Andy Staples, who's a pretty reliable guy and source in sports, is saying he don't agree with it either. So Andy Staples is on y'all's side here. He said, I was very confused by this win total. I was very confused there was only 7.5, that it was lower than that to start with at 6.5. This team beat Texas last year, who made the playoffs. They should be as good or better. Also, they beat Alabama, by the way. They should be good or better probably than the team that beat Texas last year. I just don't see it. Now, they did lose to Kansas. That's what he says here. I didn't think about that. Even though Kansas is an upstart program right now, they're still Kansas to a lot of people. And the optics weren't real good losing to Kansas and Oklahoma State back-to-back. So if you lose to Kansas, people are going to say that you have the capability of losing to anybody in the SEC any week, even Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. If you look in the history of Oklahoma, though, really the mid to late 90s are the only sustained period of mediocrity, says Andy Staples. They just don't fall into it that often. They stay good. You can say that you don't trust Brent Venables, but it hasn't really mattered who coached them either. I think Oklahoma is going to be better than the folks in Vegas think Oklahoma is going to be. As a part of the question, Staple had to ponder how much the quarterback shift had to do with the line. So that's what we basically just talked about. So that's their reasoning behind it. Their reasoning is that Jackson Arnold looked really bad in the bowl game. Y'all got a pretty tough schedule, and one of your losses last year wasn't really good for the optics, that being Kansas. And you lost Oklahoma State, too, who ended up getting blowed out in a few games last year by South Alabama and Texas. Who else was it that blew them out? There was another team that blew out Okie Pokey Chokey State. Old 56 Timer says that he thinks that 3 of the turnovers were on Jackson. All right, that probably explains some of it. If 3 or 4 of the turnovers were on Jackson, then they're probably just not sold on Jackson Arnold yet as, being where he needs to be, especially coming in his first year in the SEC. And his first year as a full-time starter is going to be in the SEC. Well, all right, I just wanted to jump in here real quick and get y'all's thought on what I consider probably the disrespect to the SEC as well as Oklahoma specifically. People are already saying that, LSU's going to slide a little bit. They lost their quarterback. I'm not a big fan of Brian Kelly myself, but LSU is one of those teams too, like Andy Staples mentioned. LSU is one of those teams that's won no matter who the coach is. So can you really discount LSU at this point? I don't think so. I think LSU is probably going to win double-digit wins too. I think LSU, was at 9.5. I think they'll cover that. Alabama's at 9.5. I think that's actually about right. Alabama will probably win 9 or 10. So all those teams out there that's been saying, just wait till Nick Saban leaves and we'll beat you, well, you get your chance next year. Like I said before in previous podcasts and streams, those that you don't beat us, we'll give you all sorts of hell because you just got beat by Alabama without Nick Saban. And it's going to happen. Y'all know it is. Sure, we might lose 2 or 3 games next year. I wouldn't bet on it. Because last couple of times Alabama had a coaching change, it was controversy. Mike Shula sucked. Mike Price never made it to a game. He was in a titty bar. They even had a strip club. The strip club that Mike Price went to, by the way, here's a nice little story for y'all. After he got caught up in that fiasco with the strippers down there in Pensacola, that strip bar had a billboard outside, and on the billboard they put the home of the $10 million lap dance because they cost Mike Price $10 million contract. He ended up getting fired. But even before that, Mike DeBose, controversy, guy sucked. Gene Stallings was sort of forced out. Gene Stallings come in after Bill Curry, and there was controversy there. Ray Perkins come in when Bear Bryant had actually let the program slip a little bit because Bear Bryant's health wasn't really where it needed to be. And when Bear Bryant came in here, it was off the heels of Ears Whitworth, who was the worst coach in Alabama history, who actually had a winless season at Alabama. So Alabama's coaches, Ears Whitworth, back in '56, was the last coach to come into Alabama without it being controversial. But this guy is coming in without the controversy. Kalen DeBoer is coming in with the castle still in pretty good shape. It's not decaying. It's not slipping because the coach stayed too long like Bobby Bowden did and Joe Paterno did. None of that. And as you've seen what happened with Les Miles, his grass-eating ass won a national championship with 2 losses with Nick Saban's players and the infrastructure that Saban left in place. So this ain't a normal Alabama coaching change. So y'all don't get your hopes up too much. I'm not saying that as an Alabama fan. I'm just saying Y'all don't get your hopes up that Alabama's going to slip and go 7-5 or some shit, like the Skittle Shitters did. I think they thought maybe that, Lincoln Riley, maybe they forgot that Lincoln Riley's not y'all's head coach anymore. And then they suddenly remembered that Lincoln Riley was a head coach at USC, and they forgot to take the 7.5 off of y'all. And they really just meant it for USC. Because that's where USC is at, too. They're at 7.5. Well, all right. I just want to jump in here with y'all real quick, share a few thoughts, get y'all's thoughts on the lines and whatnot, and have y'all thought maybe the SEC and Oklahoma was being disrespected. We want to know what y'all think about Notre Dame and Florida State are possibly finally going to leave the ACC, and more than likely Florida State will end up joining the SEC or the Big Ten. Notre Dame's definitely going to join the Big Ten. When they leave their independence behind, they're joining the Big Ten because they got that AAU status. That farce that I tell you about all the time, that fake shit they give everybody to pretend like they're more academic elite than we are down here in the South. That's just their way of holding something over us, because more than likely, more times than not, we emasculate them in the sport that matters, and that's college football. So they try to say, well, we're smarter than you anyway. We have more academic standards when they really don't. They fix the grades for those students to get in. So if you're getting a 4.0 and your grades are fixed, and another guy gets in, his is a 3.0, are you really that much smarter than him if you didn't do the work? Y'all remember Notre Dame and Tutorgate back in the 80s with Lou Holtz? But Notre Dame will join the Big Ten because they got the AAU status. By the way, Notre Dame's not a research institution, and you're supposed to have a pretty profound research program at your university. They may have some kind of research program, but it's nowhere where it needs to be in order to get AAU status, which tells me that they did that shit to get Notre Dame in at a future date and to patronize those academia out there. We're used to the disrespect. It's nothing new. We got thick skin. I feel you, Fred Bagley. The South in general has always been disrespected, man. They cling on to a lot of things that, and stereotype us with a lot of things that just ain't true anymore. They try to, straw grasp all the way back to the Civil War and use that shit all the time. When in fact, people have migrated from the South to the North, from the North to the South, probably over 150,000 times since the Civil War. And a lot of people that live down here in the South now, a lot of our ancestors are from up north. So it's just stupidity, man. Just them trying to be elitist when they're really not. All right, I'm out of here. If y'all don't mind, hit that like button before you leave. Also, if you want to after the program, I'm going to let this go to the podcast. If you want to make a donation to the program, you can do that with a little heart thanks button at the bottom. You can also join the Outlaw Posse for $2.99 a month. That's just 75 cents a week. It's a little join button next to the subscribe button. You get your badge, you'll get deputized, you'll be a part of the Outlaw Posse, you'll get a random Four Horseman shout out on the podcast, as well as possibly the comment of the day. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Those are the big four, and those are free. Subscribing is free. We say it one more time. Subscribing is free. It's not the join button and subscribe button are two different things. So subscribing helps me just as much. KMCA to all our teams class is now officially dismissed.